up from the battlefield at Culloden, which he found in the Royal Museum of Scotland.
This is a reproduction,
So,
like this is like from the old times, what they would have, like from the Battle of Culloden, a colorway that would be. Let's get that on there.
so those are sort of earthy and distressed and really.
So let me ask you, the colors that they get from this reproduction one, like from the Battle of Culloden, which that would be like 1746 was that battle.
Right, that sounds right.
So what did they dye the fabrics, the yarns with at that time? What did they use as the dye stuff?
In those days, of course, it would be all natural plant dyes, and that's why the modern ones are called modern, because that's when, in Victorian days, chemical dyes started to come in and allowed these stronger, darker, bolder
This
colours.
is like from grasses?
From mosses, from perhaps even animal sources in some cases. Oh. But you reliant on what was available in the local ecosystem. And that's also partly where the whole tradition of tartans started, because in Victorian days it was formalised by Sir Walter Scott and various people putting books of tartans together. Before that, there was a genuine tradition of clans and areas being identified and recognised by their tartans. That was simply because that was the local idiom of what was woven there by the weavers. That's the patterns they like to weave.
But why plaid? Why plaid? Why not stripes? Or why not?
Let me finish. And importantly, it was using the colours available from the local ecosystem, from the plants and so on. So that's how this tradition of colours being associated with particular clans and places started. Sorry, carry on.
No. So depending on where they lived, the color sources that were available, that's what that ended up to be, the clan color, because of what they could find.
All of these things are influenced, and the tartans produced in that area was associated with people in that area, so they became known by it. Very helpful in battle to know who to stab and who not to stab. So if you're wearing the same tartan.
Yeah. But why? Okay, so. And I'm getting off the topic here, but as the kilt evolved, I mean, why were the men wearing the kilts, and why not make a pair of pants out of that, for example? What was the advantage to having a kilt?
Very quickly, the kilt is started as what's called the great kilt. There's various other Gallic names for it and so on. But the kilt was basically a long blanket. It was maybe 10 meters of double width cloth, which you wrapped around yourself. You
slung it around.
You could lay it on the ground, pleat it on the ground, lie down on it, tie it up with a belt around yourself, and so the other half falls downwards, and then you sling the rest over your shoulder. Hey presto, you've got a kilt. And then gradually over time, that became the pleats became sewn in, and it became cut in half, and the plaid over the shoulder became a separate garment, and so on. That's how it evolved.
I read somewhere that when they were filming the show Outlander, there were hundreds of extras, and they said it was hysterical because they had all of these people lying on the ground, wrapping themselves in the kilts, like rolling around, wrapping the fabric around them to get the costumes on themselves. They said that was hilarious, watching all of these big guys like rolling on the ground, wrapping the fabrics around them to create the kilt. So. It's just interesting. So they're like free hanging under there.
It's still an evolving tradition, and in the last decades we've had this evolution of what's called the casual kilt nowadays, which is probably what most guys wear if it's just for a rugby match or daily wear almost, which is because the traditional kilt is a high cut that goes up to the belly button basically. So but the casual kilt is more like a trouser cut, and it doesn't use quite so much fabric, so you don't get quite so much of the beautiful
Is it like a little skirt now that they just put on?
I don't think I'd regard to the skirt. I wouldn't use that word. No, it's not. And one of the things that really distinguishes it is the pleating, and that because skirts tend to be made with a limited amount of fabric to keep costs down. If you've heard a traditional kilt being described as an 8-yard kilt, that's because it uses 8 yards of single with fabric. Now, stand and take 8 paces and see how far away from where you started you are. It's a lot of fabric that goes into that garment.
Wow, no kidding. That's a lot of fabric. That sounds like a pair of drapes for a house. So
easily
8 yards.
Easily.
So this is kind of neat. I love all of these.
So try not to get out of order, please.
Nope. I'm not going to mix them up. I'm just looking through. There's some. Look at that jazzy one. This looks like a modern Burberry, except it's got the yellow in there.
It'll say what it is on it. I'm not sure. It doesn't say what it is.
I don't want to touch it.